Sons and daughters of Georgia, we unite to demand safe, transparent elections and hand-marked, hand-counted papered ballots. For freedom!
Hi, welcome to Peaches and Bananas. And will the planets align for hand-marked paper ballots? That's what we're talking about today. And if you are a sky watcher, you might know what I'm talking about. There was a phenomenon now this weekend that 6 of the planets were visible in the sky. I don't know if that's true because we had too many clouds, so I can see for myself. I'm seeing pictures though. So we'll see what that means for hand-marked paper ballots. And yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about the show. And we are coming at you on the channel Magastruck, and that is Magastruck on X, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. And also Peaches 2 Bananas on X. And that is because Peaches and Bananas was taken, so it's Peaches 2 Bananas. Please give me a like, share, follow. Let me know that I have your support so I know that you want me to keep going. And I do have some bad news for the show. Viking Dude is not coming on with me anymore, and that is sad because Viking Dude brought the music, the laughs, and he just makes everything more colorful. I am nowhere as entertaining or fun, but I'll try to give you the information. So please let me know what you think. It's yeah, I would have liked to have kept the music going. And so what I can tell you though is what is Peaches and Bananas, and I might need a little bit of help from these two critters because the video is worth a million words, and we are mostly focused on Georgia. That's a peach state, and that's where you get your peaches. And in this work for free and fair elections that we can trust, we run across some establishment stubborn types that have been throwing some real banana republic stuff at us, and those are the bananas. So we've got the freedom fighting peaches versus the establishment bananas. Got it? Okay, so here we go. First thing that I try to do in the show is to give you highlights of the VoterGA Zoom call, and that is a meeting that happens on Saturday morning. It can be intense and technical. It can go 3 hours long. So here at Peaches and Bananas, I try to just give you a taste of what happens in the call. And first up, what we talked about was what I call the winding road to secure elections in Georgia. And this time around, we are talking about Senate Bill 568. So let me give you some background. 2 years ago, with Senate Bill 198, the Georgia General Assembly gave the Secretary of State 2 years to find a new voting system because they banned the QR code. He didn't do it, and that ban for the QR code on our ballot starts this summer. Now, the counties have this emergency because they don't have a clear way on how they're expected to do the elections, and it is up to the legislature to come up with an answer. And there are a few proposals like House Bill 1108, that is a hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots bill by Charlize Byrd, Noel Cahan, and Bill Fincher, that the Republicans, and that bill hasn't moved. On the other end of the spectrum, there is a Democrat-sponsored bill, House Bill 1423, to kick the can to 2027, and extend that deadline. Hearing the Senate yesterday, the Senate ethics meeting, I saw in the Senate this commitment that they have to stick to the deadline that they set 2 years ago. So they don't want to kick the can. They want to stick to banning the QR code this summer, in July. And Senate Bill 568 is one of the answer, the one that we're following, that got introduced last week. And it does a little bit more than that, than try to get rid of the QR code. And I'll go through a list of what's in the bill to tell you all about it. First thing is that it includes fines up to $10,000 to a county board of registrar for each registration that isn't properly removed. So if you've been following Jason Frazier, who's been doing a tour of these addresses where people shouldn't be registered at. So we're talking about laundromats, empty lots, abandoned houses, storage spaces, churches, and just places that don't count as residences. He's been exposing that by visiting them physically, because he has given Fulton County over 10,000 of these addresses that shouldn't be in the voter registrations, and Fulton County hasn't responded to those challenges. They've ignored them and kept them on the voter roll. So this change in the law would give challenges like that some teeth when a county doesn't remove something that they should have. And the bill also provides for hand-marked paper ballots starting in July 1st, 2026, and those would be pre-printed ballots that would be given to everyone who votes in person. And so instead of voting on the touchscreen on those giant iPad-looking things, you would fill out a ballot by hand. And it would get counted by the scanner the same way that they are now. And for security measure, they are asking that if the scanner has a feature, they must turn on the detector to detect counterfeit ballots, so that someone couldn't put in a fake piece of paper as a ballot in there. And they're also requiring ballot images to be created of the counted ballots, and these are a low resolution copy that the Secretary of State then makes available for all of us that want to download them. And the BMDs would only be available for the disabled as an accommodation, which is what they were designed to be. And because of all these extra pre-printed ballots, they are asking for assigned early voting locations. So instead of on early voting being able to go anywhere in the county to vote, you would be assigned to an early voting location by your precinct. So precincts would be assigned to specific early voting locations, and that would be somewhere close to your home. And they are also asking for a time-stamped number list of voters. So at the end of Election Day, the counties would need to provide for the number list of voters, and that would be uploaded onto the Secretary of State's website with the timestamp so that it can't be changed after it's uploaded. And that is so that you know who voted at the end of Election Day. And they're also requiring the counties to give a list of the registered ballots 5 days before early voting starts, so that we have a list of voters at the beginning and at the end that would serve as bookends as to who's allowed to vote and who voted. And additional security measures is that the ballots would have kind of like a dollar bill. They would be serialized, but they would be serialized by a batch identifier in batches of 100 to protect anonymity. And yeah, that's a way to keep track of what the legitimate ballots are. And ballots are public record, and the ballot images that get posted on the Secretary of State website would need to be now posted with their corresponding authentication files, and that is like a seal of authenticity, so that we know that those files that get uploaded are legit and not tampered with. And they would need to be sorted by precinct of each county. So if you wanted to check the results of your precinct, you could actually download that file and count the ballots if you wanted to. And the Secretary of State would also need to post the cast vote record, and that is a spreadsheet of all the ballots and how they were counted. There is no voter information in any of that. It can't be tracked. It would just have all these rows with what the ballot was and how it was read by the machines. And so they're also asking, because ballots are now public record, so, and we can request high resolution copies by open records request, that would be available free of charge. And upon request, the elections office would have 30 days to respond with those copies. And that's also a process that can be observed by the public and by the requester. Then they're also making a change for recounts and audits. So right now, if a candidate is, if a race is decided by less than 1%, a candidate could request a recount. And the Senate Bill 568 is increasing that percent to 1%. And any recount that's requested needs to be done by hand count. And the state also requires an audit of selected races. And I actually noticed that in the discussion of the bill yesterday, the Senator Dolsall, who's the main author, the main sponsor of this bill, he was saying that he was asking for that audit to count all the ballots in the races that get selected to be audited. And in the updated version, I see that's not the case anymore. And that's something to keep track of. The bill, as it gets closed and as it gets voted on, people might suggest amendments. And so I don't know what happened to that provision, because now it's saying that it's going back to the way that it used to be, that they're requiring a percentage of the ballots, although some counties do still count all the ballots in the selected races. But we'll see. And there was also a provision to have the state election board oversee those audits, not the Secretary of State or an elected official. And I'm not sure that I saw that in this latest version. So we'll keep tabs on that. We'll know for sure by Saturday in the call how it ends up being, what the final version that gets voted on gets to be, because things are going to move fast. So the bill passed ethics, it's going to rules, and we need it to be voted on the Senate floor before Friday, before it crosses over, and there's going to be all sorts of negotiations on this, and hopefully not too many, because it's a pretty good bill. In the discussion yesterday, it was interesting to see that Chairman Pitts from the Board of Commissioners from Fulton County was there, and he was asked by two senators about why he's not seating the Republican nominee, Jason Frazier. And so right now, the Republican Party isn't fully represented in the Fulton County Board of Elections because they're refusing to seat Jason Frazier, even though they had a court order to do so, and the court is fining them $10,000 a day. Right now, that case is on appeal. So we'll see how that shakes. But it was interesting to see that that being asked of Chairman Pitts yesterday. He didn't quite answer. And that's something that I'm hearing that they're asking to be included into the bill so that they strengthen that language so that the parties, when they nominate someone to represent them in the Board of Elections, gets to be represented the way they want. Right now, Fulton County is missing a seat. And so this bill is showing quite some promise, and that has a lot to do with the sponsors, and that is because several of the sponsors are in leadership in the Senate, and the sponsors for this bill are Greg Dolezal, Max Burns, Cardin Summers, Steve Gooch, Matt Brass, Ben Watson, Jason Anavitardi, Brian Strickland, and Blake Tillery. So if they represent you, please give them a thanks for sponsoring this bill, and we'll see what it goes. We have good hopes. It was a great day yesterday in the Senate, and we'll see how this proceeds going forward. And the second topic on the call was that Garland recapped the press conference that he had last week on the 25th of February. And in this press conference, he talked about the Fulton County search warrant and answered the question of why we are so interested in investigating Fulton 2020 elections as a criminal investigation. So here is a clip from Garland explaining just why.
Nothing ever added up. The hand count audit had a 10,000 vote discrepancy with the original count, and the machine count had another almost 5,000 vote discrepancy with the original count. The hand count audit, as Joe Rossi has explained, had 6,691 double reported votes in the audit, and then another 3,466 difference. So the total there would be a 10,000 vote discrepancy and another 4,880 vote discrepancy between the machine recount and the original count. And that includes, in addition, there would be another 250 test ballots that were certified. So it's actually an over 5,000 vote discrepancy there, because the 250 needs to be added into the 4,888. In addition to that, the total number of voters who voted that we can find is 516,217, thanks to Jason Frazier on this one. That's 11,708 vote discrepancy in the ballots. And that you have to add to that another 166 voters who were given credit for voting twice. So that's an 11,874 vote difference. And remember, the election was decided by 11,779. So you've got discrepancies that are greater than the margin of victory in both the count and the multiple counts, and then the correlation of the number of ballots cast to the number of voters who voted. Nothing added up. I mentioned that 3,930 double scanned, double counted ballots. Also, Philip found 470 double scanned, double counted ballots in the original count, in addition to the 3,930 in the recount. And that doesn't include the fact that there were over 5,058 original images that were missing in the recount and 1,330 recount images missing in the original count. Nothing adds up in terms of the scanning as well. Again, thanks to Philip on that and ballotassured.com. His ballot integrity analysis, which some of you have probably read. I mentioned the 6 sworn affidavits. Everybody knows about that. The 4 senior poll managers, 2 audit monitors found the mail-in ballots. They knew that they were counterfeit because they were not creased from being mailed. They weren't written with a writing instrument. They were on toner, toner copied on unusual paper stock, not the right paper stock. And they were voted the same way, all down ballots for dozens of consecutive ballots in a row. Clear counterfeits. They were mail-in ballots. People were trying to claim, officials are trying to claim that Secretary of State's office that they maybe they were not mail-in, but they were actual mail-in ballots. And then finally, you've got one of the most interesting things is that as of the certification deadline, they only had 511,000 electronic ballots. But then suddenly, after Richard Barron sent this batches loaded report over to the elections group, Ryan Macias, they ended up reporting and certifying 527,000. So there's about 16,300 or 400 in question there.
And that was 527,900 ballots. So that is Garland, one of our hardest working peaches, telling us about something that's completely bananas in Fulton County because, and this is some Fulton County election math that I joke about struggling with because these numbers are supposed to, they're supposed to match. So to recap, Fulton County credited 516,000 people with voting. They've reported that they scanned 511,000 ballots, but then they certified 528,000 votes. So make that make sense. These are way off. And this is an election that the margin for the state was 11,779 votes. So it doesn't match, it doesn't add up. We tried to investigate as citizens, and we tried to recount and reconcile the results by requesting all the public records for the election, but many of them are missing in Fulton. And here is Garland describing these missing records and where it is that they come from in the voting process.
Missing records, as y'all know, when you scan a ballot, it creates a scan log entry. It creates a TIFF image file, the SHA authentication file that authenticates that TIFF image. Then it's tabulated if it's in person or if it's a absentee, the batch is accepted. You get a cast vote record. It's a CVR file, aggregate those cast vote records, and then the statement of votes cast is certified. So along the way, for every ballot, you got to have all these things. Well, they didn't. So all of the slog files are missing, all the slog int files. We don't have any of that. And then if you add up all the missing records, you come to over a million records, electronic records are missing for the votes that they certified. So that's over 1 million missing digital records for the certified votes.
So I know that's a bit technical, but all these records that Garland is talking about are pieces of the puzzle of the 2020 election in Fulton. And without them, we can't know what the real results were. So what would really tell us of what the outcome was in Fulton is the ballots. Because we're told that, yeah, the numbers match. Somehow magically they came up with 528,000 when they said that they only had 511, but those records aren't there. So So we would need to see the ballots, and VoterGA sued to get those ballots in 2020, right after Christmas. And since then, others, including the state election board, have tried to get them in court too. Garland also requested the ballots in 2024 when the law changed, making them public records. So we no longer needed a court to unseal them in order for the county to make copies. And yeah, so he ordered them by open records request, and Fulton said that the ballots don't exist. And that is what gets us to the FBI search warrant in January of this year. And Fulton County sued to get the ballots back, and they don't want the FBI to look at them. And Garland explains why. And this is a Fulton County standoff. And so he is explaining why Fulton doesn't have standing to get the ballots back, or at least for the case.
I've returned the ballots, and they don't want them to look at the ballots while they got them. I wonder why. I think that's kind of hilarious, but so Fulton County, the plaintiffs, these are the plaintiffs for the case. They're making First and Fourth Amendment claims and criminal procedure claims, 41G. I'm going to show you what that is. Their lawsuit, their amended lawsuit, includes a declaration by none other than Ryan Macias of the elections group. They wanted to present him as an expert, which is kind of humorous since he's the one that was involved in everything that went wrong. The First Amendment claim is claims that the FBI can now link ballots to voters with the records. If that was true, then the the Fulton County has been violating Georgia ballot secrecy for decades, or at least for 6 years. So it's not true. As y'all know, you can't link a ballot to a voter. There isn't really any way to do that. There is no link. The other thing, the Fourth Amendment constitutional question, unreasonable search and seizure. Well, these people don't have constitutional rights. Government agencies don't have constitutional rights, and the chair and the clerk are operating in their official capacities. They don't have any constitutional rights. And even if they were operating in their individual capacities, they still don't own the ballots, and therefore they would not have constitutional claim. So the bottom line is that there was no standing. The judge had scheduled an evidentiary hearing without any standing. No one even has standing to bring this claim. It's that bad. And they added the clerk at the last minute because she is the custodian of the records, but that's still questionable as to whether she's a true party or not. But even if she was, let's look at the 41G claim. So just to recap, none of the plaintiffs owned the seized property. None of the plaintiffs were aggrieved by the seizure. So and government agencies don't have constitutional rights. So just to look at this, 41G says a person aggrieved by an unlawful search and seizure of property, by the deprivation of property, may move for the property's return. Well, first of all, it wasn't an unlawful search of seizure, and they are not deprived of the property, and therefore, and they are not aggrieved. In fact, the clerk even motioned in our case in June of 2024, the case that Caroline Jefferson and I had brought in individually, separately, they moved to destroy the ballots.
I'm here. Just takes me a moment to get, there's a lot of buttons to push. So again, Fulton County is suing to return ballots that, as part of Garland's case, Fulton's clerk had motioned to destroy. So they're hearing trying to get the ballots back was canceled, and they were ordered to get a mediator. And so the Fulton saga continues. But what we want is transparency. Because of all those missing records, because there is no evidence of how they came up with the results that they came up with, we just want to see the ballots and see what those what the real total was. And so we'll keep at it, and that is the end of the VoterGA highlights. And now I should take off my VoterGA cap, except that I'm not going to, because I've got hat hair now, and it's not going to look good. But now I'm going to rant. And this is what happens when Viking Dude leaves me unsupervised. So last week, a supporter came into the VoterGA call to let us know that the state election board will be hearing a complaint against him for an incident at a voting location. This is something that he is claiming a First Amendment right to ask questions. And I read the poll worker's complaint, and it seems that she was uncomfortable by the way that he asked. That is going to be heard. He said that it would be heard on March 18th. So we'll see how that works out. And the supporter is, well, he spoke in a local news podcast. So I'll use his name. His name is Richard. And Richard is someone who always shows up for election transparency. He is a very cheerful supporter, and he raises his hand every single time. He offers to help every single time. And, he participated in the hand count that I did in Cherokee. And I really appreciate Richard. But I want to say that I really appreciate the elections director in Cherokee too. She has been a resource to us. She lets us know about some of the issues that she comes across. And I actually turn around and tell Garland. So we featured those issues on the VoterGA meetings and made everyone know that we made everyone aware of those. And she's also walked us through how different aspects of the election process worked. So she's been a resource that way. And she also advised me so that the Cherokee hand count would be realistic. And, it was really important to me that it felt like a real election. I wanted the results to be something that the supporters could then use the numbers that we got. And so listening to this incident, something there really didn't seem right. So I made some open records requests, and this is where maybe I should be under supervision, because at the risk of stepping in it, I'm saying these are two friends, two people that I consider friends. And I don't like it when people are unfair to me, and I don't like it when people are unfair to anyone else. And this incident drew strong reactions on social media with some really strong comments. And I'm saying something because I am seeing something that is unfairly harsh. And from what I can tell, this just seems to be an example of elections directors being stuck, having to follow a process that we don't like. So something that I found out is, and to be clear, I know that Richard is worried. At least he really seems to be when he's spoken, and the both times that I've seen him talk about this. So he's worried about a charge, but he has not been charged with a felony. He has not been charged with anything, and neither Cherokee County Elections nor neither the board nor the election staff can charge anyone. Only the state election board can. And so I'll explain the process of what happens when an elections director receives a complaint. They have to forward it to the county board of elections. And in Cherokee, it is a 5-people board that then they vote on whether that complaint needs to be forwarded to the state elections, to the state investigators. And the investigators then present it to the state election board. And the state election board can then choose one of 5 things. They can choose to dismiss, they can choose to issue a letter of instruction, they can choose to issue a letter of reprimand, they can choose to send it to the attorney general, or they can choose to send it to the district attorney. Cases that get sent to the attorney general don't end up in criminal charges. That's something that I learned, so that even if the election code describes a problem, classifies it as a misdemeanor or a felony, it's an administrative prosecution, and the respondents end up having to possibly, they may have to pay a fine. So I'm saying this because I don't like seeing people being torn down unfairly. Richard deserves fairness, and I completely believe that. But I also completely believe that Ann Dover, the elections director from Cherokee County, deserves fairness too. Because we can stand for election integrity, and we can still treat election workers like human beings who are required to follow a process. I know that emotions are high, but we cannot abandon fairness just because emotions are high. We still have to care about the integrity and how we treat people too. And I know that a lot of people, from the comments that I'm seeing, they just feel that Richard is being like they're causing trouble for him, and I'm not the judge of that, but I can offer that maybe they're sending it to the state election board because that's a more neutral place to hear that, and it's a process. So we have to trust the process and hope for fairness there. And that is my rant. I know, though, that what Richard is really interested in is, he has an issue with the QR code, and we all do. And you don't have to vote with the QR code if you don't want to. There is an option, and even though Senate Bill 568, were to pass, would not come into effect until July, for the primary right now, the primary at hand, you do have an option, and that is to request a mail-in ballot, which is a hand-marked ballot that would be mailed to your home, and you could deliver it to the elections office. And that is what VoterGA's secure ballot is about. So for the 2026 primary, you can, the first step, absolutely first thing that we should all do, regardless of how we're voting, is check your voter registration, check your address, check that your address is right. So you want to make sure that it's all correct, so that the ballot that they give you is of the place that you live, and you can register by April 20th. So I think that means that you can make corrections by April 20th if you need to. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. Okay, sorry about that. So you can request that right now until May 8th, although I wouldn't recommend waiting until May 8th because anything can happen with the mail. So request it now as soon as possible, and to request it, you can go to the MVP site, and that is, it looks like this. The address is mvp.sos.ga.gov, and if you go there, you can see your registration, the address that they have for you. You can send in an edit. There is a section with your precinct information where there is a button that has the contact information for your county elections office. And if you go below there, there is a place where you can fill out the absentee ballot application, either online or download a form. And this is what the form looks like. So it's just a regular government form. It has 2 pages. You want to say right on line 1 that this is for the May 19th, 2026 election, and make sure that you fill out all the blanks that are required. There is a recommended line for number 6, and that is contact information. You want to fill that in anyway, because that just makes it easier for the elections office to contact you if they have any question about your application, and that way, that gets expedited. If you aren't going to be at home and need them to send your ballot somewhere else, you can give them a temporary mailing address. And you're going to need your driver's license or an ID to fill out the form. So there's a list of the acceptable forms of ID later on. You have to sign it. And you can also assist a voter. So if you have someone that is disabled or can't read, you can assist and fill out an application for them. And if you have a relative that you need to help, there's a list there on line 11 of all the people that you can request a mail-in ballot for. And you have to say if they're disabled or out of the county. So just check out those instructions and fill it in. And if you qualify, whether you're disabled or over 65, you can opt in so that you don't have to apply again for a mail-in ballot if there's a runoff. And I think that this applied for November. I would actually need to ask because it's been a while, and I'm not sure if the November election counts as part of the same election cycle, though I think it does. Right, so if you apply on the MVP site, there is a portal that you can send the application from, but I've actually heard from elections offices that they prefer that you send it to them directly, because I guess there's been delays and glitches in getting all the files from the Secretary of State in the past. And so if this is too technical for you, if you're not online, and if you don't have a printer, you can request the form to be sent to your home from the elections office. And so if you can't access MVP, you can do a search on your favorite search engine for your county elections office. So if you're, name your county and put in elections office, put in the state of Georgia too, to make sure that you get your own county elections office. That should pull it up. And I can always help you too at VoterGA. My email address is support@voterga.org. And so if you need to find the contact information for your county, because this, I can help you too. And they will either email it to you. If you need it emailed, they can, again, mail it to your home. And you can also download it either, again, from MVP or from their website. Most of the counties seem to have that up there too. So yeah, that's several ways that you can get it. And you want to when you fill it out, you can take a picture and email it to them, and they can confirm that they received it. And from the Secretary of State website, it says that the earliest that they will be sending out ballots will be April 4th, and that seems really soon. So I'm not sure if that's really the way that I'm reading it, but that's what the Secretary of State's website says. And so, yeah, don't delay in requesting your ballot, because right, anything can happen with the mail. So the sooner that they get it out to you, the more time there is for it to be delivered. And yeah, make sure that, so the dates again are, make sure that you're registered by April 20th, and you want to check your contact information by then. Make sure that your address is right so that you get the ballot for your district of your home. And you can request the absentee ballot starting now until May 8th. But again, don't delay, because, you know, the mail. And so that is it for today. I will tell you that this is not the show that I had in mind. I miss Viking Dude. He did bring the fun. So let me know if you'd like to keep it going, and please give me a like, share, follow on Magastruck at X, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Peaches to Bananas on X. So for now, I will say thank you. I'll see you next time, and I'll leave you with this song that Viking Dude wrote.
I'm moving to the country, gonna pick out all the peaches. County's full of peaches, the people wanna be free. I'm moving to the country, gonna pick out all the peaches. Gonna vote on paper ballots, paper from a tree. I took a trip to Cherokee, they had a hand count I could see, and I knew it was for me. I cast my ballot fair and free. Yeah. Paper ballots is the key.